The parties have produced is plenty of mean-spirited rhetoric. Check out the latest ad from the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, who slapped together this personal dig against the House Speaker.
There are not the votes in the House to pass a clean CR.
You chicken?
You're soft.
You always been gutless.
If Republicans and Speaker Boehner are saying there are not enough votes, then they should prove it.
What's the matter, Colonel Sanders? Chicken?
Damn right you're scared.
Hard to watch the great Rick Moranis be used as a political pawn like that. But Senator Ron Johnson, I want to turn back to you.
Those Democrats are so mean, aren't
They're
they?
so
they're
mean.
so partisan.
You're talking about, so
I'm
cool.
Mr. Bipartisan.
I've never seen any Republican ads that mean.
Yeah, I know, we're just a lot nicer people.
So here is how President Obama might put it to you, if I can play devil's advocate for a second. You own a company,
right.
Packard, you make plastics. What if the head, let's say, the CFO of the company said, this is what I demand, and if you don't do this thing that you normally would have to do anyway, let's say it's make payroll, nobody's going to come to work tomorrow, and it'd be a shame if something happened to your plant. You would say this is not a negotiation. Now, that's the president's point of view. He's used worse metaphors than that, actually. The idea is this is something Congress needs to do anyway. Pass a spending bill, raise the debt ceiling. These are not crazy things for the Congress to be asked to do.
But then he's also saying, do all those things, and then I'll sit down and I'll negotiate seriously with you, which he's never done.
He's tried, right?
You
don't think he's tried?
Hey, look, I was part of the dinner group there, and I appreciate that outreach.
And the dinner group meaning you and several Republican
senators? We had about 24 senators. There were two different dinners, and then there was a smaller group that continued to meet with the White House and with Dennis McDonough and Sylvie Burwell and Rob Neighbors, and that was a helpful process.
What did you think of them? What did you think of those White House staffers?
I liked them. I actually liked people here in Washington, D.C. They're nice people.
Do you think there's
a lot of their ideology is destroying this country? Well, their ideology is destroying this country.
Coming to a TV ad near you.
Their ideology is destroying this country, but other than that, they're great folks. Okay,
but we'll tell them you said that.
But do you think that they want to deal with you? Do you think that they want to solve the fiscal crisis?
Only if they get a tax increase. I mean, that's really what ended up being the impasse. I mean, don't talk to us about any kind of spending restraint, trying to save Social Security or Medicare for future generations, unless you're willing to increase taxes on the American taxpayer, which, from my standpoint, is counterproductive.
But they can't get Democrats to vote for it without that.
I understand, and they can't get Republicans to vote for tax increases. So again, going back to the reality situation, I get that. So we get back to what I was talking about. Let's figure out what we agree on. In the president's budget, there's about $1.2 trillion of different types of mandatory spending cuts and some other spending reductions. Well, let's take a look at those, because we actually would agree on some spending reduction. We're not even talking reduction, we're talking restraint. We're trying to reduce the rate of growth and spending.
Let's start talking about that first. Let's drill down on that. You've had these conversations. Right. We're not talking about, fantasy land. You've actually been in the White House having conversations. Two questions. One is, do you think that a 6-week kind of stopgap to raise the debt ceiling and continue those conversations is the way to go?
I wouldn't be opposed to that. We've done that in the past, in some of these past showdowns where we go, okay, let's do a two-week. Well, people weren't serious prior to September 30th. Maybe with this initial shutdown, people will start focusing their minds and get serious.
And that's the next question. Do you think that obviously the talks broke down?
Right.
You had an impasse over tax increases, you say. But
this White House, if it's a $5 deal, they would need $2 or $3 in tax increases.
Okay.
I mean, that was the problem.
But having said that, were there seeds of something that you could actually work out in 5 weeks?
So what?
6 weeks?
I think so. I think so, as long as they don't demand a tax increase. That is a real stumbling block. The president got $600 and some billion of tax increase with no spending reductions at all with the fiscal cliff deal.
But they don't want more Medicare cutbacks, and they've got their. You take taxes off the table, they take Medicare off the table. Can you still do something?
Well, the long-term driver of a debt and deficit is health care spending. President Obama admitted that in our dinners, and particularly Medicare. In my 30-year projection, we showed a $36 trillion deficit in Medicare over the next 30 years. That is better. It's simply not sustainable, Gloria. So that's what I'm talking about. Is you have to first start out with the facts, the figures, figure out what you agree on, and that's the first thing you have to agree on is the extent of the problem. And then we need to actually describe it to the American public so they are prepared for the solution. Step one, what's the first step in any problem-solving process? admit you got a problem, right?
But everybody admits
No,
that.
they do.
But that's,
They do not.
Senator, that's
They
one
do
of the
not.
reasons they did Obamacare, because of the driving
costs.
healthcare costs.
And didn't we just have a report, the Medicare actuaries came out today and said because of the passage of Obamacare, we didn't bend the cost curve down. It's going to cost $620 billion more over the next 10 years than had we not done Obamacare. So we did not solve the problem there.
Can I just steer us back to the problem we're facing, like, immediately
Today, right.
today,
Well,
next week?
they are all part and
Next
parcel of
week?
the same thing.
Okay, so the debt ceiling.
We got 40 seconds, so.
Oh, okay, so.
Talk fast.
So the president came out today and said it would be catastrophic, insane, and chaos if you did not raise a debt ceiling. What's your response to that?
The president should be trying to calm the markets, not rile them up. So from my standpoint, we have plenty of tax revenue coming in. If we are responsible, if we prioritize spending, there's no reason for any kind of catastrophe.
But
here if
you're
we
not
plan for it.
opposed to a short-term deal, 6 weeks maybe even, you know.
Something short-term. I'd certainly like to get something like no special treatment for Congress and members of their staff.
We'll have to talk about that.
I kind of like that as well. But
I love that.
Senator
I love that.
Johnson.
Short-term.
Thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it.